right, just a short time ago, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham spoke out on the investigation of Russian meddling in the 2016 election and that investigation. So appearing at a town hall in his home state of South Carolina, Graham insisted Russians need to be punished for their involvement.
I have legislation that I think would get 80 votes if we can ever have a vote that would punish the Russians for interfering in our election with sanctions beyond what we have for their interference with Crimea. I want to vote on that just as soon as we can. Let me tell you why. The Russians are trying to interfere in the French election, which is at the end of April. So I want to vote at least in committee in the Senate before the French elections to let the Europeans and the Russians know that we care about what Russia did in our own backyard. The Germans have their election in September. I hope we can pass this bill and put it on President Trump's desk by September to punish the Russians so they won't do it again. As to the investigation, we've learned two things. We've learned that the FBI is investigating Trump campaign operatives for potential ties to Russia. Here's my belief. It goes wherever it goes. No politician should stand in the way. We should let the FBI do their job, and what happens, happens.
All right, let's discuss more of this now with David Rode. He is a CNN Global Affairs analyst and National Security Investigations editor for Reuters. All right, good to see you, David. So Senator Graham, says the U.S. should be working with other countries whose elections are coming up, just like France and Germany. Can the U.S. be influential, particularly as it relates to Russia threatening to interfere with those elections?
It can. I mean, if there's legislation passed, if there's new sanctions, it would have an impact. Russia's economy is very weak. And then the bigger statement that Graham made was that he wants this FBI investigation to go where it's going to go. Yeah. The failure of health care, this did weaken President Trump, and it's going to embolden Republicans like Graham to not defend him when it comes to Russia.
And also, Graham said the House Intel Committee is about to fall apart, and he's making direct inference to, Devin Nunes, the chairman of that committee, reporting to the White House before even talking to his own committee. Does this look like the divide is widening as it pertains to Republican leadership?
I think it is. There is a divide among Republicans. It's this, now again, healthcare. It looks like a big unwieldy party. I think Democrats will let the House probe continue because they are in the minority. They don't have, power. I was in Washington Thursday and Friday, and so they need to cooperate. The Democrats want to keep this going. So I don't see it, the whole investigation in the House derailing immediately.
And then Devin Nunes took it a step further, and Lindsey Graham commented on that, the fact that what was going to be a public hearing tomorrow involving, John Brennan, James Clapper, Sally Yates, now that will not be so public. What does this mean to you? Is that to the detriment of the committee's investigation?
I mean, this is all very political. I don't think holding the private hearings is going to work. The Democrats will sort of stand outside of it and complain that something's being covered up. The other news this week was that Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign manager, said he was willing to maybe testify before one of these investigations. That's a really bad narrative for the Trump administration. Paul Manafort is the swamp. He's a political consultant.
The former campaign manager, yeah.
Yes, and he's, there was a story this week by the Associated Press that he was receiving $10 million a year from a Russian oligarch to sort of lobby on behalf of Russia. That, again, that's the swamp. And if, Manafort comes forward and is questioned, I don't see how he's going to, talk his way out of this. Most Americans don't even know who Manafort is, and he comes forward as a lobbyist, again, making $10 million a year for a Russian oligarch.
And Roger Stone, also a former advisor in the Trump camp, says that he has done nothing wrong, also coming forward voluntarily to testify. Again, it will be private as opposed to public. And he said this, quote, "I acknowledge I am a hardball player. I have sharp elbows. I always play politics the way it is supposed to be played. But one thing isn't in my bag of tricks: treason." So how revealing potentially do you believe this testimony could be, whether it's Stone or even Manafort? How much do you expect they would say?
I don't think they'll say much. I think, Stone will say he had nothing to do with this. But, Stone predicted and warned that John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, was going to be embarrassed soon. And then very soon afterwards, WikiLeaks releases these damaging emails that have been hacked by Russia, according to U.S. intelligence services. So how did he know they were coming? I don't see, I see Stone's testimony and Manafort's testimony kind of raising more questions rather than ending the investigation.
All right, David Rode, good to see you. Thank you so much.